Classroom Narcissist. I'm Chloe. I'm 18 years old, and I had an affair with my teacher, Mr. Stevens, or Phil, as I came to call him. I am not some silly girl, although they have repeatedly tried to tell me that I am. Believe me, I have felt the weight of my opponents as they tried to convince me, no doubt orchestrated by Phil, that I dreamt the whole thing up. Still, it is to be expected, isn't it, that they, the teachers, will close ranks and look out for one another. That is what they do, isn't it? I have lost friends because of this, but I realise they are just jealous and they fancied Phil just like me. Only I got to have him. I don't blame them for fancying him. He is good looking and funny, and he has that easy air about him that makes him so likeable. But what they don't realise is it's all an act. Phil the flirt, Phil the mate. But when it suits him, he remains Phil the teacher, set apart and to stay apart. He started it, of course. I won't deny that I liked him from the beginning. Everybody does. He is a popular teacher, and being good looking as well, is never going to cause him a problem in the popularity stakes. But you see, he knows all of this. He plays on all of this, and boy, does he use it. He uses it to reel you in, and then, here's the clever part, he uses it as his defence. I cannot help it if they take advantage of my popularity, he protests, as he maintains his innocence. He is not innocent, and he took my innocence. He started it. I recognised the way he looked at me. He always looked for me in class before anybody else, as if ensuring that I was there in my usual seat and then give me that smile. Oh, he smiles at everyone, I was told. He does not smile for them the way he does, or rather did for me. I am not stupid. I may be young, but I saw how he would stare at me, how I could feel his gaze on me, how I could tell from the corner of my eye that he was stood beside me and was looking down my blouse. Who wouldn't? I'm attractive. I have my fair share of boys chasing after me. And Mr. Stevens is a man, after all. He is flesh and blood, so he's bound to look, isn't he? He wasn't meant to touch, though, but he did. Oh, he touched me in so many ways, and he knew what he was doing. I had heard that others had become besotted with him before. Rumours of some girl a few years ago who had to be persuaded to be moved to another school because she fell in love with him and would not leave him alone. I tried to find her, actually, but didn't get anywhere. Some say he got her pregnant and she had to have an abortion, her parents hushing it all up as they didn't want the scandal. Some say it was all made up. They've said the same to me. I know what I saw. The cheeky winks just for me, the slightly longer smile than usual aimed at me, the way he usually asked me first when I put my hand up to answer a question. He was besotted with me first. I tried to tell them this, but they dismissed what I said, told them I was reading too much into him, just being friendly, that I was trying to see things which were not there because I was desperate for his approval. He was always encouraging, praising me for my work. I always enjoyed history, but it became even better when he was allocated as my teacher. I worked hard because I wanted good results, and I wanted him to be pleased with my work. I got high marks from the beginning, and I now realise that this was his way of reeling me in, making me feel special, marking me out for special treatment. He advocated on my behalf that I should be a candidate for Oxbridge. That's either Oxford or Cambridge, prestigious British universities. And that meant extra tuition, with him, of course. Now, I am good enough to get into Oxford or Cambridge. I chose Oxford. But he clearly saw this as an opportunity to isolate me from the other students, and cleverly from witnesses. After all, plenty of people across the various subjects have these Oxbridge tutorials after college hours. But he used his to teach me about more than the Tudor dynasty and the English Civil War. Once he had me in those special tuition one-on-ones, then it was inevitable where it would end up. I wasn't complaining. I wanted his attention, absolutely. Although, of course, he should have known better. He was the one in a position of trust, a man in a position of authority, and I was just a pupil. Yes, I wanted him, but I didn't realise that he was the one who had engineered for me to feel that way. And that is what these predators do. They make it seem like you're doing, but he hypnotised me and made me fall under his spell. He was always so assured, doing just enough to maintain an element of doubt should he have misjudged the situation, just enough to be able to protest that it was an innocent gesture, the hand on the shoulder, the hug of congratulations, the slightly too long touching of fingers when passing a buck or an essay to one another. Oh, he was good. He knew what he was doing, steadily reeling me in and making me the centre of the universe. He chose me from the very beginning, and little by little he reeled me in. He used his influence to bring me to heel and have me on my knees. How he relished seeing me on my knees. And I lapped up his attention, and more besides. Soon the secret trysts began. Arrangements made in his office with that Stuart family tree covering the door, window so nobody could see what went on in his office. So much for the transparent government. He still subscribed to the idea of an absolute monarchy. He never used his phone, you see, clever old Phil. He made it seem romantic, the whispered instructions of where to meet and when. Always outdoors, never in places where we would be seen. No traces left, no observers, no evidence. He was a master at this game, and I was clearly naive, but I am not a silly little girl. And then he dropped me. No explanation. He became cold, civil yet cold. I tried to get my friends to see how he treated me differently, but they told me that I was imagining it. My grades remained excellent, but the Phil that held me and read to me from historical texts and delighted me with his knowledge was gone. The Oxbridge tutelage came to a conclusion as the entrance examinations loomed. He had no reason to be alone with me, and even though I sought an audience with him, this absolute monarch would not grant me admittance. So I spoke out. Why shouldn't I? He told me he loved me, and I loved him too. Yet, once he had my innocence, or rather once he had it to score, he considered me conquered and of no great interest to him any more. Nobody treats me like this. I will bring him down. He's not going to get away with it. Oh, I know they think I've made this all up, some kind of revenge for not getting my way. But they've underestimated me. I'm not going to be denied, and I'll make them all see, even my parents, who for some inexplicable reason have sided with him. Shouldn't be surprised, though. They've always hated me. For some reason, they're frauds to think that they can call themselves mother and father. No. I know this is how his kind behave. They turn everyone against you, cut you off, and paint you as the troublemaker. That is not me. I am the victim. I am Mr. Stevens. I am 30 years old and a teacher of history. I still am, although I am currently suspended as a consequence of the ridiculous allegations of a fantasist. It is an outrage that someone's made-up fantasy has the potential to ruin a man's career. I'm no fool. I've taught for nearly a decade, and I know the tricks that pupils get up to. I've seen them all. I've always been a teacher who adopts the carrot approach. You always get further with honey rather than vinegar. Oh, I know, there are one or two sticks in the mud in the staff room who regard my popularity with sniffed disdain. That's just jealousy on their part. My results speak for themselves. Plenty of students choose to study history, and between Miss Kelshaw and I, we make a formidable team. Thankfully, Miss Kelshaw has supported me in this unpleasant matter, though I always knew she would do so. Sensible lady. You do walk a tightrope at times when you are friendly yet firm with the students. I'm not their friend, but I don't have to be their enemy either. I love history, and my natural enthusiasm for the topic is something I try to install in my charges too. If you love something, you always do better at it, don't you? It doesn't feel like a bind or a chore. By ensuring those who choose to study history with me really love it and want to live it and breathe it, I weed out the ones where it's not for them nice and early, and they move to a different subject in the first 2 weeks. Plus, doing that ensures that I'm only going to get those who are going to get the best grades, so it's a win-win all round. I want to make my mark on this college. I'll be the principal one day, although at present it appears that moral principles are the ones which are trying to get my attention to a greater degree. Chloe Fowler is a good student. She will do well. Polite if something of an attention seeker. Always first to stick her hand in the air. And one to air an opinion on absolutely anything and everything. Nothing really wrong with that, I suppose. At least she has learned the mantra of make a point and then ensure you have something to back it up when she advanced her arguments. I taught her just as I taught everybody else, to the best of my ability. Unfortunately for me, she misread my concerns for her education as meaning something else. Well, what can I do about that? I'm not going to sit behind a screen and isolate myself from my students, am I? It's not how I operate. I'm not a no smiles before Christmas kind of guy, not at all. History needs to be alive, accessible, and most of all enjoyable. It's like anything in this life. If you enjoy it, make it yours and you'll succeed. I want all my students to succeed. Yes, I selected Chloe Fowler for Oxbridge tutelage. That was the right selection, and I still say it is, despite her ridiculous allegations. She has her keen mind. Too keen, as it happens. I've read what she has accused me of, or rather the police officer read it to me, and it is all nonsense, a made-up fairy tale. I see she's been clever, though. She's ensured that she accused me when there was nobody else available to witness our interactions. You see, it's always the case that those chosen for Oxbridge tuition see their tutors in their offices. That's always been the case, and I'm pleased that my fellow teachers and the principal have confirmed that that's the way it is. I knew they'd back me on this. You see, it's an occupational hazard of ours, infatuated students who start to think that they're the apple of your eye. Usually it's nothing more than a harmless midterm crush, and they grow out of it. But not this girl. She has something seriously wrong with her. Has to have to come out with the lies that she spouted, suggesting we had sex beneath the tree that Charles II hid in. I know that to be a lie. That tree was destroyed hundreds of years ago. Everything she spouted is just the slops of the mind of a fantasist. And she's dangerous, believe me. Nobody's going to believe her. I know the police have to go through the motions, but it'll soon be kicked into touch. She's done this because I rejected her. I didn't reject her outright. After all, there was nothing to reject. We had no romantic relationship. There was no flirtation. Nothing. It's clear, however, that she thought otherwise, and in that warped mind of hers, she has felt rejected in some way, and this is the result. An expensive and unnecessary investigation, plus the interference to the other students. No wonder so many have turned against her. I know she liked me. I am a likeable person, but I maintained a proper teacher-student relationship, and she has seen fit to dream up something else. What can you do? Put cameras everywhere, I suppose, but then who wants that? Surely there has to be some element of trust between us. Am I annoyed? Of course I am. I haven't done anything wrong, and along comes this girl and she spouts all manner of idiocy, and she's treated seriously. I mean, anybody can see this is a tissue of lies. This had better not affect my promotion prospects, or I will take legal action too. Thankfully, the local paper have not reported anything about it so far. That conversation I had with the deputy editor seems to have worked. So far, so good on that front. He's a good friend and doesn't want to see the reputation of a hard-working and successful teacher sullied. What annoys me most is how easy it is for someone like her to make these things up. And next thing, it is suspension and investigation. They tell me that it is a neutral act, but I know there will be those trotting out the old no smoke without fire rubbish. I realise that when you're a decent-looking chap like me, and because you're friendly and get to share a joke with the students, some might blur the boundaries. But it's one thing for them to be blurred, and another for them to be crossed. Am I to be punished just for being popular? Because that is what she is trying to do. I'm not going to change my style, though. I'm a hands-on teacher, and that always gets results. And one besotted fantasist is not going to make Phil Stevens change how he teaches. No way. It is ridiculous. As if I would be interested in some 16-year-old, which is how she says how old she was when this all started, apparently, when I've got a gorgeous wife at home. That in itself should tell those looking into this that this is a witch hunt by a disturbed adolescent who should be studying for her exams, getting help with whatever problem she has, rather than trying to ruin the life of an honest and decent man. I am the victim in all of this. So, listeners, who do you think, from those monologues, are or is the classroom narcissist? Is it the girl, the student, Chloe Fowler? Is it Phil Stevens, the teacher? Perhaps it's both of them. Maybe it's neither of them. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and the justification behind those thoughts, and see if you can apply your knowledge to identify correctly if there are narcissists here, and if so, which one, or whether it is both. I look forward to reading your observations.